Alright everyone, it's time for yet another garden update. There's a little bit of stuff lying around in the garden right now. I was actually working out here only about 5 minutes ago, watering, doing a little bit of weeding. You can see, I mean, I've got to pick all this shit. This alone is a couple boxes worth of chamomile. The turnips, the cabbage, the beets, everything's growing well. The turnips are really good this year. No sign of any disease in them so far, which actually is abnormal. And you can see this shit there. That's a weed. We've got to get rid of it. Some of them are getting, decent size. I don't think you can probably see them. Some of them down there, yeah, getting on towards the size of, softballs almost. They're almost ready. This, by the way, the Swiss chard stealing the show here. Lots and lots more beets. And the one Brussels sprout that managed to actually make it probably produce. This, by the way, is Neptune's Harvest. It's an organic fertilizer that I use. I mixed up a batch of it, and what you end up with for this, see, there's still a little bit left. I'll have to use that after the video for some of the flowers. They don't need quite as much fertility, obviously. Maybe put us on the herbs out back. Basically, I use about 2/5 of that container for this much water, and that waters everything in the garden twice, more or less. Gives it a good soaking, gives it some fertilizer and, obviously water. Here are all the peppers. They're growing well. They're getting up towards that second rung, which is about where they should be. The zucchinis are massive. Those are pretty healthy plants. Everything's growing well, actually. You can see the marigolds, which I've deadheaded recently. I've got to do some iris deadheading later because the dead flowers will attract snails, and I don't really want that to happen if I can help it. I've done a little bit of weeding. You can see in back there, I ripped out most of that shit weed. It'll come back, but I'm going to keep pounding away at it. Onions, those will do fine. Most of these have grown, somewhat since I planted them. They'll keep growing. There's going to be some really great stuff. All this dill, which I may have to deadhead at some point, that's for pickling later on once the cucumbers get ready. We'll also have homemade dill, homegrown dill. This is now almost a yard tall. So it did in like 3 or 4 days since I made the last video. It's almost notched another foot. I watered everything in here, did a little bit of weeding, but not all of it. You can see there's still some weeds in here. But I did go through and get most of the weeds out around the collards. The rosemary back there I cleared out. That's doing well. The tomatoes, the carrots, the beans here, the Nicotiana. Everything is really starting to pop. These two are a little bit sad, mainly because this soil here is so woody that you have to add extra fertilizer to it to compensate. Otherwise you get a nitrogen deficiency, which isn't fun. And as I said before, that habanero plant is not going to do well. I am going to have to replace it. It might be a problem with the plant, in all honesty. Everything else is puffed right up and doing fine. These, the Black Prince tomatoes, they're about where they should be. They were a little bit behind, but now they're actually right on par. They might even be a little bit ahead within a week or two. You can see all the garlic in there, a little bit of everything. The cucumbers here, part of which are in mostly shade throughout the day. They're still doing fine though. Pretty soon I have to put little stakes next to them. The beans, it's kind of hard not to be able to grow beans. They don't have to be anything spectacular because I'm not a huge fan of them. Look at the size of all the flowers and stuff though. This is why I'm making a garden update today instead of waiting, another couple of days. Because after I do the deadheading, a lot of work's been done and everything's growing really well. The herbs in here are amazing. One unforeseen thing, cilantro in here, I've had to cut off the tops 3 different times because it's so prolific. And I don't really use a lot of it. I don't know how to make tacos. I can make some foods, but not a lot of them. I don't know anything about cooking a good taco. I know about eating tacos. Unfortunately, this pumpkin as well has gotten completely decimated by those little stripy beetles. They've taken too many chunks out of it, I'm afraid. Probably instead of having a pumpkin here, this area can be turned into something else. There is still enough time to put in maybe some more herbs. I can separate some more perennials into it, just make it a flower bed or whatever. It doesn't really matter because, what are you going to do with a pumpkin? You can buy them they're a dime a dozen almost, literally, so. Lots and lots of poppies. You can see them kind of up close here. Some of these are really nice colors. I'm fond of the red ones. They're not a Danish flag. They're actually just a corn poppy variant. Come on, focus. There we go. Just watered these. I mean, look at all the tea that I have to gather. And this was a neglected little area. Like, until they got fertilized, these were looking terrible. Now look at it. It's like a carpet of white. And they're still getting ready to bloom more. Once you pick them all down, they'll put out a whole nother flush. They'll do that 3 or 4 times in a year under nominal circumstances, at least twice a year, under the worst. And you can see this weed in here I gotta get out. You know, there are always some problems. Look, hey look, more tea. Yeah, what are we gonna do with that? Yeah, I really want to spend 5 hours picking it. And the thing is, I put it in the humidifier, or just sun dry it. I'm gonna have to use the humidifier, I think, after it's washed, because there's not enough room. There aren't enough south-facing windows in the house for all of the chamomile here. Look at it all. I mean, it's spread literally everywhere. More half of it's growing outside of the garden fence now. I love chamomile. It smells nice. It looks nice. It's kind to all the plants around it. Pollinators like it. It's a really great plant. I wouldn't want to be without it, but Jesus, maybe a little bit excessive. So yeah, there's a little bit of a garden update. Looking pretty good. Again, other than the pumpkin that got eaten down, and I'll figure out what to do with that. And yeah, that and the habanero plant. Poor sad little pepper. It got stunted. I think it got nitrogen deficiency for too long, like when it was planted. And it wasn't able to recover like the other plants did for some reason. But I do want a habanero, so I'm going to go down tomorrow and grab a new pepper, I guess. You know, a pepper plant pre-sprouted. Oh, and by the way, that garlic mustard stuff that people were telling me about is invasive. I got rid of most of the flowers. It does actually smell a hell of a lot like garlic. Like, you couldn't even tell the difference. I can understand why people would eat it as a green, but I think it's supposed to be mildly toxic, isn't it? Like, you can't use too much. So I'll leave you with a shot of the salad here that I'm going to steam off and eat fairly quickly, like within the next couple days. That's about all. Peace out.